Joining us now is Cenk Uygur, who's currently running in the Democratic primary for President of the United States. So Cenk, it's been a while since we've talked, and I'm sure there's lots of updates. So it seems less and less likely that your primary run is going to go anywhere. So what are your plans? Are you going to stay in the race?
A few moments later.
That if Biden wins, or even if Nikki Haley wins, and I despise Nikki Haley, we're going to have an election in 2028. The only person I'm not sure we're going to have an election in 2028 is the one that tried to stop democracy earlier, and that's Donald Trump. So I bought spoileddonnie.com.
You love the URLs.
I do, and it redirects to my site. I bought trumpthebetrayer.com.
Oh my God.
And that redirects to my site. And so what am I going to do here? I'm going to lead by example as I do, which is to show Biden and the other Democrats how you fight Trump. Donald Trump is incredibly weak. He's an insecure little baby, and the minute you trigger him, he does something stupid, and we cannot afford that when he's president of the United States. And this little baby got $413 million handed to him by his daddy, and then he blew it all. He went bankrupt 6 different times. So I'm going to point out in 1,000 different ways what a loser this guy is. Total imbecile, clown of the earth, okay? We cannot risk this guy again. And that's, by the way, also why he tried to end democracy. I lost the election, I don't want to lose the election, you took my toy away, right? So I'm gonna kick his ass on that.
All right, guys, so we gotta start off today with some comedy, okay? And there's nothing funnier than laughing at TYT's delusional buffoon, Cenk Uygur, who is still running for president of the United States, allegedly, right? He's still in the Democrat Party primary, even though this guy is not even polling at like 1% nationally, okay? He's completely and totally irrelevant. Now, if you guys remember, Cenk decided to get in the race because he wanted to force Joe Biden out of the race. That was his rationale, okay? Even though he's not a natural-born citizen, he's not actually eligible to be president of the United States, and that's why he's struggling to get on ballots. That, and also the fact that Democrats are trying to keep all of Joe Biden's opponents off the ballot. But in his case, like, he's not eligible, right? But he's running anyways, okay? And his rationale was that, well, if I run and I get 15 to 20% of the vote, which was a delusional thing to even think about, right? There's no world where you're getting 15 to 20% of the vote in a in any type of presidential election, Cenk. But this is what he thought. He said, well, if I get a significant amount of votes, that is going to force Joe Biden out of the race, or force a Democrat like Gavin Newsom, or Josh Shapiro, or any of these other Democrat governors that have a better chance of beating Trump than Joe Biden, which, in my opinion, I haven't seen any polls that indicate that somebody like Gavin Newsom would have a better chance against Trump than Biden. I think all of the Democrats would struggle against Trump, but that's neither here nor there, okay? Regardless, that was his thesis. And lo and behold, I think it's been, 4 or 5 months since he launched his campaign, and it's went absolutely nowhere, okay? This guy is broke. He's out of money. His network, TYT, is as irrelevant as ever, okay? It is struggling just like his presidential campaign. So this guy is going to tell us why he's still in the race, even though he has accomplished absolutely nothing. And it is hilarious to listen to this guy and his delusion. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Joining us now is Cenk Uygur, who's currently running in the Democratic primary for President of the United States. So Cenk, it's been a while since we've talked, and I'm sure there's lots of updates. So it seems less and less likely that your primary run is going to go anywhere. So what are your plans? Are you going to stay in the race?
Oh my God, this is so funny, bro. This is so funny. Anna Kasparian, who has become a lot more of a reasonable person, okay? She's one of these far leftists that has realized that, well, the policies of the far left, these people are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, right? Like, they don't believe in law and order, okay? They don't believe in common sense or anything like that. These people are insane, okay? So she's slowly but surely taking a red pill, okay? Now, will she ever become a Republican or conservative? Probably not, okay? Not unless the left moves the Overton window even more far left than it already is, okay? That's the only situation where somebody like Anna Kasparian may consider herself a Republican or conservative, but she's still a leftist, okay? But regardless, I can't say I don't feel bad for her having to tolerate sitting through this interview with Cenk and pretending like his presidential candidacy is legit, right? You can just tell from the tone of her voice that this is a total waste of time and that she thinks this guy is delusional, okay? You can just tell from the way that she's interviewed, like she's like, this is not a serious thing, okay? Why are you doing this? This is a total waste of time and money. It's absolutely hilarious, okay? And I feel for her having to sit through this nonsense.
So I think that your analysis is fair, and so let me explain what's happened since, and then talk about what's the most important, which is what we're going to do next, right? So in terms of what's happened, two main things. One is, unfortunately, our case in South Carolina was not expedited. That sounds like a minor thing, but it isn't. So when a case is not expedited, that means that it will not be decided before the election in South Carolina, which then likely means that the court will rule it moot afterwards. So they put you in a catch-22 you can't get out of. So they're like, we're not going to hear your case until it's irrelevant, and then we'll declare it irrelevant. So is that another injustice? Of course it is, but that's normal. Right?
Did they give a reason?
No, they did not give a reason. And so, do we have enough money to sue in another state? I'm gonna be honest with you guys, no, we don't.
Yeah, so he's broke, right? So he's broke. He can't even get on the ballot in a lot of these states like South Carolina, but it doesn't even matter because Biden won South Carolina by like what, 90% of the vote, which is insane to think about, okay? But that's why Democrats wanted South Carolina to go first and not a state like New Hampshire, because they knew that all the black voters in South Carolina would, line up and vote for Joe Biden. And that's exactly what happened, because black women are the Democrat Party's base. That's their strongest base of voters. That's why they wanted South Carolina to go first, to make it look like Biden was stronger than he actually really is. Okay, but Cenk, even if he was on the ballot in South Carolina, you would not have gotten 5% of the vote. You would not have cracked 5%. You're not going to crack 5% anywhere in none of these races. Okay? But again, let's listen to more of this delusion.
Wish I had a lot more money. We raised way more money for the congressional run, and I get why, because people thought I could win that one, but they think I can't win this one. I totally get it, right?
You can't. You have no chance. No chance at all. Anybody giving money to this guy, you're burning your money on fire, okay?
So then the second thing happened is New Hampshire. And so New Hampshire, we were not allowed on the ballot, we weren't competing. So I didn't, like, the results are obvious and that's not an issue, and we didn't even try there, that's okay. So I wasn't worried about that, but I will tell you, the day after, or that night, when I saw Vermin Supreme being interviewed, and he's got the boot on his head, and I know he's a performance artist and he doesn't mean any harm, he's trying to actually send a decent message out, etc. But I thought, that brother made it onto the ballot. That's this country saying, he's okay. He at least could lead us. You don't even have a boot on your head. You're no good naturalized citizen. We don't trust you. We potentially trust Vermin, but we don't trust you. You're not even allowed in the race. And that bummed me out, okay? But then there came the silver lining, because you know me, Anna, I'm an eternal optimist, and I always try to look for, okay, yes, but what are we going to do next that's positive, that gives people hope, right? So I realized, oh my God, I'm on the presidential ballot in 7 different states. And I was mad that they stopped including me in the polls, right? Like Quinnipiac had me in a poll, I got to 2%. That was actually the first poll they did with me in it. That's the equivalent of 1.6 million Democratic voters saying, yeah, I want that guy to be president of the United States. And
I guarantee you're not at 2%. I guarantee you're not even there, bro. You might be at 0.5%, but you're not at 2%. You're not at 2%. But you guys see the delusion here? Okay, this guy is continuing with this grift that clearly and obviously is not going anywhere. And Anna Kasparian, because she's being paid by this guy, is just sitting through it, nodding her head, right? Not really saying much, because she knows how ridiculous that it is. Okay, it's really sad. It really is.
And that's humbling and wonderful, etc. So I thought, yeah, but even if they're not including me in the polls now, so what? The election is the ultimate poll. And I'm on the ballot in Vermont, I'm on the ballot in Texas, Oklahoma, and a whole bunch of Super Tuesday states. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn my campaign into a message campaign. Now, I'm super realistic about it, both in terms of the potential for winning, which is tiny at this point, right? And also even the idea of getting a message out, that's also very difficult, right? For example, they tried to write in ceasefire in New Hampshire, and it got a lot of votes, and I got a lot of votes. and then they didn't report it. They just said 10,000 votes that were written in, but we're not going to tell you who they were.
Total?
Total.
Okay.
Okay. So it's possible that I came in third. It's possible ceasefire came in third, right? But it's unreported. But I'm like, you can't not report it on the states that I'm in. So now I'm going to try to do something audacious as I always do, which is to try to win Vermont.
Okay.
Like, I'm not unrealistic. Texas is a giant state. In 5 weeks, we are not going to be able to get our message out effectively enough, especially with mainstream media stonewalling me, that I'm going to win Texas. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, look, you're not even running a real campaign. Like, how many rallies have Cenk had in these states? Like, he's not running a real campaign. Like, I mean, at least with Dean Phillips, he's trying to have rallies, okay? You see him having meetings with people and campaign events. Like, what campaign events is Cenk having? He's not, like, he's still running his show. He's still spending most of his time in Los Angeles. I believe that's where they're located. So you're still in California. Where are you actually trying to campaign? You're not trying to campaign. And you can't campaign on the internet because that's not where the voters are for the most part. So you're not even running a real campaign. So, you know, it's not because the mainstream liberal media is stonewalling you. It's because you're not actually really running. You're not running. Again, this guy is... the delusion here blows my mind. I can't believe this guy actually started a whole network.
On the other hand, Vermont is smaller than a congressional district. It's the home of progressives. Does Vermont want to send a message, end the war, end the occupation? Now, if I won, no one would dispute that that would be stunning, and the message will have been delivered, right? And so at that point, Biden's got to be thinking, well, how much longer do I want to go with the war if I just heard this resounding message, stop the war, stop the occupation? So that's point one. There's a second point too, but that alone would be worth it. There's actually 2 more points as to why I'm continuing. But again, if people say, hey, you know, your chances are totally unrealistic now, so I don't want to give my hard-earned money, 25 bucks, 5 bucks, whatever it is, I totally get it, guys. I'm the only candidate that'll ever say that, right? But if you want to help send that message and you want to take advantage of this unique opportunity where one of us is on the ballot in 7 different states and we could use that as an opportunity to send a message, that would be amazing.
When is the...
Wow, incredible. So what he's saying is that, well, I'm in the race now, at least one of the reasons why I'm in the race, is to force Joe Biden to do a ceasefire. Which is, it's not gonna happen, right? It's not gonna happen. Even if he wins Vermont, which he's not, okay? You're not gonna win Vermont. You're not gonna win any state, okay? There's nothing that you're gonna do that is going to affect the decisions of the Biden administration, period, right? That's just as delusional as the original plan, which was to run and then try to force, you know, somebody like Gavin Newsom or a Gretchen Whitmer into the race. So now, again, it went from that, because that failed, to now, well, I'm in the race because I want to force Joe Biden to do a ceasefire. He's talking about Israel and Palestine. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. You're not gonna get nearly enough votes to affect any policy decision of the Biden administration. Again, this is just a grift that this guy won't end. And instead of just humbling himself and saying, look, I'm just not that popular, okay? You know, I am not running a real campaign. Let me stop taking people's hard-earned money and wasting it. Let me end the campaign right now. No, he's still going to stay in the race and then try to justify it with the most delusional justifications ever.
The last primary for the state that you're on the ballot for?
So it's later in the process. I'm not looking past Super Tuesday. So like, let's
AKA he's dropping out after Super Tuesday. He's dropping out after Super Tuesday. This is what he's saying.
Go to Super Tuesday, and Anna, it's not just about winning Vermont. Any delegate is a delegate for peace. And any state where you get above 15%. Now, in Michigan, you have to do a write-in, so that's very difficult. On the other hand, Michigan is filled with voters who agree with me.
Right.
So if I get to 15% in Michigan or any other state, I get delegates.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what you experienced when you visited Dearborn recently?
Yeah. So of course I met with Muslim and Arab leaders, but more importantly, just citizens, right? And they're livid. They're done with Biden. my sense was nothing on earth could move them to vote for Joe Biden.
Yeah, the Washington Post actually came out with a piece today that's fascinating, and I want to talk about it on the show tomorrow. But there is a growing movement among Arabs and Muslims in Michigan where it's now an organized movement to vote against Biden.
Well, good opportunity for them. Write in Cenk Uygur.
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility.
That's your first vote against Biden. And by the way, that's the beauty of doing this within the primaries, because it doesn't hurt against Trump in the general election at all, at all. Like the idea that they always say, oh, you're taking votes away from Biden. Not in a primary.
Right.
Right? In primary, you're just sending a message, especially given the fact that it is enormously likely that Biden's going to win. Then you don't have to worry about it at all. All you're doing is sending a message saying, I don't like this war. I don't want to fund it. I don't want to fund the occupation. Let's be decent and humane and moral and stand up for what's right, especially as Democratic voters and especially in Michigan.
Right.
So help me. Look, I do town halls every Wednesday. I'm going to do one later today, right, tonight. And I get supporters and stuff, and I go, let's figure this out together. And they come up with good suggestions too. And let's go figure out a way to get our message out in Michigan, to write me in, and to vote for me in Vermont, Texas, Oklahoma, and other states on Super Tuesday that I'm on the ballot.
Yeah, so it's not gonna do a damn thing, right? But I will say that Michigan situation is interesting because that is a key swing state that is important for Joe Biden or Trump to win in order to secure the presidency. And when you have all these Arab/Muslim voters that are saying that, hey, we're not going to vote for Joe Biden, in fact, we're going to vote against Joe Biden, that's actually great news for Trump. Okay, so Cenk is being a useful idiot here for Trump, right? Which I love. Okay, so yeah, keep campaigning out there in Michigan, keep rallying up the Arabs and the Muslims and telling them, hey, vote against Joe Biden. Yeah, send Joe Biden a message. And make sure you do it during the general election too. Okay, not just during the primary, but during the general election as well too. That way you can increase Trump's chance of winning, right? Because that's basically what they're doing at this point, okay? So I love it, right? I love to see it, okay? So continue to be a useful idiot, specifically in Michigan. In fact, put all your campaign resources into Michigan campaigning against Biden, and that does nothing but really help Trump. So with that being said, Cenk is still delusional, and it's kind of sad that Anna Kasparian has to tolerate this level of delusion. But hey, she gets paid to do that. I'm not sure if whatever she gets paid is enough to actually sit here and take this person seriously. But hey, it seems as if Cenk is working in our favor, so to speak, right? So hey, I'm not gonna complain too much about him staying in the race. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.